I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, July the 10th, brought to you in part by Makin by Bimeda. Makin is a bold, straight shooting telithromycin injection that does what it's supposed to do for you, for your cattle, and most importantly, your bottom line. For more information, go to makin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards, another huge run for Joplin. 13,000 head for Monday. Of course, they were closed last Monday, but all your major high volume cattle auctions were closed last Monday, with July the 4th falling on Tuesday. But get on to dvauction.com. If you can't sleep by 4:30, they'll have the gate swing in there and get started on selling the cattle. Be on long streams by 7:30, and the businessmen buyers that are there, they like it that way. They'll get done middle of the afternoon before it gets too awful hot there. But Joplin is well on its way to being, for the first time for the first time in a year, in a calendar year, being the largest feeder cattle market in the world. I was joking with Mark Harmon that they might have to move that arch that they have at the Oklahoma National Stockyards to Joplin, and he said we got room for it. But anyway, that's a big sale for them. Was there late last week at the Big Bang sale that they had in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Outstanding offering there. Had over 45,000 cattle offered there on their primetime livestock video. Awesome market. Some of the highest prices that we've seen out of the Flint Hills of the Osage region so far this summer, and just a good time there at the Kansas Crossing Casino there, and got to visit with a lot of people, and just a pretty good family of people that work and do business there at Joplin Regional Stockyards, and congratulations to them. But check out their sale. Making money, and that's what everybody's been talking about this summer. Everywhere I've been, every gathering I've been to, every big video sale, or even in your brick and mortar sale, people talking about making money for a change. Don't get very many opportunities to make some serious money in the commercial cattle business if you're just doing things straight up, because the margins are so tight. The inputs are really expensive. Markets are volatile. You got to protect yourself, and that costs money too. But guys are making a lot of money. And they're not ashamed to say it. These guys are selling fat cattle, even though they seem to keep the pressure on the fat cattle market all the time. It's pretty good, and guys are making money, and several $100s per head in some cases there, depending on how they got them bought, how they were feeding, if they're feeding fairly efficiently and things like that. Cow-calf producers doing really well. Many times when we're talking about trying to survive in the cow-calf production business, we say that you sure need $1,000 out of your calf that you sell to pay for feeding that cow all year round, especially with drought conditions circling in almost every major production area, and that makes it really tough. The hay prices have gotten high because there has been severe drought in some pretty important places almost every year here for the last 8 or 10 years, and the hay gets moved around, and it's been very expensive and hard to find. But most guys figure that if they can yield over $1,000, and inputs were higher, especially since the Magoo administration came in, but $1,000 a calf is kind of where we draw a line. A lot of these calves now are bringing back $1,500 to $1,800 per head if you don't just sell them, weighing as a peewee, but if you take them up to typical type weaning at 500 or 600 pounds, they're bringing back some serious bucks, guys. But I still say, and I continue to preach, that I have not seen any signs of rebuilding the herd as of yet. A lot more heifers have been selling at these yearling sales the last several weeks than steers. Guys that had kept back their best heifers for replacements, but with the market surging like it has been, they just can't resist to sell those, nor should they. They need to heal up a little bit. They need to make some money. They need to make some improvements around the ranch. And, you know, buy some newer equipment. Just get some things done, and like I say, heal up for just a little bit anyway. So we're seeing a lot of heifers coming to market, and pretty much all of them going to feed, guys, because we are so short. Shortest cow herd we've had in 62 years, guys. So you know, guys are going to feed the cattle because there's just not that many of them out there. But talking about making money, these backgrounders have made money. And we have mentioned here several times within the last year that backgrounders have not been making a lot of money. And I'm talking about guys that are buying you know, lighter weight cattle. Usually they want them to be weaned. They're not too wild about doing that, but a lot of times they'll buy some short weaned or non-weaned calves and then grow them. And I'm mainly talking about your grazers, your summer grass grazers. Of course, we have wheat grazers in the wintertime or in the fall. We have grass grazers in the summertime, and these grass grazers that are selling their cattle, some of them not delivered yet, but the cattle that are for fairly near-term delivery, they are making some serious dollars, guys. A lot of the guys that I was talking to that were selling cattle both at the Blue Stem Special that Coffeyville Stockyards had and at the Primetime Big Bang Sale there in Pittsburgh, Kansas, their cattle were making $600 to $800 per head. Wow, you don't get opportunity to make money like that very often, guys. And it adds up. If you think of a grazer, especially in the Flint Hills or the Osage, guys turn out a lot of cattle. You got to handle a lot of cattle if you want to do this for a living. You can't make money on just a few head. 1,250 head would be a big grazer, but there's some grazers and grazing families for sure out there that'll graze 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 cattle or more. You know, a lot of them that I know that graze as much as 8,000 or 10,000 out there. But a 1,250 head grazer wouldn't be really out of the norm. I mean, it would be on the high side. But if you had 1,250 cattle turned out on some grass this summer and they make $800 a head, that's $1 million profit, guys. It adds up really fast, and you just don't get opportunities to make money like that. A lot of people outside the industry think that people that have cattle are all rich. Well, in some cases they are, because if they have land, of course the land's worth a lot of money, but if they sold the land, then they'd be out of business. But running cattle doesn't always make money, and it loses money or has trouble breaking even more often than not, and probably 8 out of 10 or 12 years you're suffering in that. But this is a year where the sun's shining and it's time to make hay. Over the weekend I was in San Marcos, Texas at the Independent Cattlemen's Association of Texas. I've gotten pretty well acquainted with that organization the last 3 or 4 years. I've spoken there several times and been to the last 3 at least conventions that they've had. Was there over the weekend. I've got a lot of good friends there that I've made and kept up with there, and always look forward to being there with them. And we had a really good convention, and the best turnout that I've seen. I don't know if they've had bigger crowds than that in the past, but at Embassy Suites there in San Marcos, Texas, they had a heck of a good crowd there, and had some interesting speakers there, including Dr. Dan Thompson there, Doc Talk. If you've seen him, he is an excellent speaker. His presentation was really good, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I wish I could give presentations as well as he does, and he did a great job. And then I was a moderator of a panel discussion that we had about nutrition with cattle, and it got pretty deep, and we had several good guys on there, and they've got some young producers, which is good to see. They've got some young producers and new producers, maybe people that haven't been retired very long, that were at that convention, and they were, I mean, their ears were sticking out big, and they were soaking all that information in, and it was really valuable information that a lot of people compliment us after we got done with that. But I want to talk to you about a big sale that's coming up here today on Monday. Callaway Livestock Auction in Kingdom City, Missouri. That's Jack Harrison's sale. It's a DV auction broadcasted sale there. It is extremely terrible dry in mid-Missouri, in central Missouri there, and I'm very familiar with that state. It's usually not dry. It's usually, it's a very fertile part of the world. I mean, it's usually bountiful and looks fantastic. It is really dry. Not, maybe not in a whole region, but in central Missouri, it is really dry. And we're not joking about that. And people are selling cattle frantically. Jack Harrison's done a good job with that market since he's taken it over solely just himself. And he's got it ginning. He's going to have 4,200 head of feeder cattle here today on Monday, and have 500 weigh-up cows after that, and that'll go way up until the morning. Probably when the sun comes up, they'll still be selling cows. But get on there. Don't get started till about midday, but get on to dvauction.com and check out that sale. If you are looking for some really fancy, all black for the most part, long time weaned, double vaccinated, home raised type cattle, they'll have a lot of them in there. They've got some really reputation consignments here on Monday. Check them out. Go online, check them out, get a hold of them if you need to. Call into the office, tell them you would like to be approved to bid online. If you can't make it over there, they're going to have a special bred cow and pair sale this Thursday on the 13th. Jack told me, he says, I have no idea how many they're going to have. They typically have 800 to 1,000, and it is going to be huge. So that gives you an idea how big it's going to be. And they've got a lot of dispersals on there, guys that just couldn't hold them anymore. And it's an opportunity for somebody else, and it could be you, to get some really nice replacement stock there, in an opportunity where they're really dry and maybe you're in a good spot where you are. I was talking with Tony Hancock, who's a supervisor of market news and grading in the state, at the state level in Missouri. He and I used to work together. He was a young guy. He's not a young guy anymore, and neither am I. But we had a good visit there at the primetime video sale. He showed up in person to report that video sale, and I was proud of him for doing that. But he was telling me, he said all these sales in the central part of Missouri are just selling a lot of cows, and most of them just weigh-up cows, because the weigh-up market, thankfully, is also good, and nobody local for sure can afford to give more than the packers to take those cows home. But he was telling me about some of the sales, and typically these sales, especially this time of year, might have 150 or 200 cows at most, weigh-up type cows. But he said the week before the 4th of July, last time they had a good full week of sales up there, he just gave me a few of them. Interstate Regional Stockyards at Cuba, Missouri, 625 cows, the last big sale they had. Kingsville Livestock Auction, 650 cows. South Central Regional Stockyards in Vienna, longtime DV auction broadcaster there, and good friends of mine, 550 cows, weigh-up cows. Windsor Livestock Auction, it's really grown in recent years, 750 cows. If you guys are looking for cows, check out the central part of Missouri. Let's talk about your futures for last week. Live cattle futures, August contract. Monday was down 35 cents. Tuesday was closed for the holiday. Wednesday was down $1.87. Thursday down 37 cents. And then Friday, the market just rallied out of nowhere, up 245. And August live cattle ended the week last week at 177, which was down just 14 cents. October ended the week last week at 179.37. Feeder cattle futures for August. Monday was up 32. Tuesday was the 4th of July. Wednesday was down 320, but it didn't seem to bother any of the markets, any of the cash markets. Whenever you're this tight on supplies, the futures don't interrupt it. Thursday was down another 242, so that's nearly $6 there, guys, in 2 days. Didn't hurt the market at all. Market was still going up where they were having sales, but most sales were shut down. Friday was up 315, which helped quite a bit, but August feeder cattle still ended the week at 245.42, down $2.15 for the week. September contracts ended the week at 248.60. December corn ended the week at 494.5 for new crop, down just 1/4 cent for the week. November new crop beans 13.17 3/4 at the end of the week, down 25.5 cents a bushel. And September Kansas City hard red winter wheat ended the week at 8.18 1/4, up 18 1/4 cent. Your fat cattle trade for last week, second week in a row, really extremely light negotiated trade, which negotiated trade is light in the whole scheme of things anyway, but significantly lighter than normal again for the second week. They need your negotiated cattle, guys. You've got to get some market position back. We saw some of your cattle sellers starting to get a little bit of market position back late last week. You've got to hold out, guys. Hold out till they come to you with the market that you want. But 31,800 head up through Thursday of last week is nothing. Live sales of fat steers and heifers in your 5-area feeding region, direct basis 176 to 185 negotiated. Weighted average up through Thursday of 180.70. Dress sales 287 to 292. Up through Thursday, your weighted average on dress steers was 289.81. On Friday, we saw additional sales. This will be addition to what I gave you there before, but it's still going to be light. 8,200 head sold in Iowa, just 22,100 head for the week. Live sales 182 to 185. Dress sales 288 to 290 mostly. And then the northern plains, your live market was steady to $1 higher last week. Dressed sales steady to $2 higher. Nebraska 7,800 head, 10,900 head for the week. Live sales 181 to 185. Dress sales 290 to 292. Kansas 1,000 head on Friday, 9,300 head for the week. 184 delivered, which is kind of weird. You don't hardly ever see delivered prices in the southern plains on a live basis, but they did have that. Had one load of cattle bring 290 dressed. Just really nothing to speak of in Kansas that you could sink your teeth into as far as being something that you could call a market. But Texas sold 1,200 head, only 7,600 head in Texas for the week. Live sales were 178, which is what they've been all week, direct basis. That was steady to $1 lower in Texas because they had 179 the previous week. Kansas was mostly 178, so that was mostly steady. Now on the Fed Cattle Exchange, those guys that decided to put some cattle up for bidding, even if it's just on a timed online auction, it's still competition, which is what your big four packers are trying to snuff out, and they're doing a pretty good job of it, and everybody seems to just be throwing in with them. How you get higher markets without competition, I have no idea. But did have some competition on the Fed Cattle Exchange through Central Stockyards. They sold cattle, and several lots of them, at 180 last week. They had cattle at 178, but 170 up to 180, and heavy on the 180. See what happens when people bid against one another to get what they want. Box beef cutout values last week were sharply lower. Your weighted average on all of last week's choice sales, 321.97. That was down 7.22 for the week, and then your late Friday sales were another $5 lower than that. Select weighted average on all of last week's sales, 290.65, down 6.47 compared to the weighted average from the previous week. And late Friday sales on selects are also $5 lower than that weighted average. So that's pretty significant losses. That's the Packers' problem, guys. They're not going to share with us when they're making a record profit, especially like they did during the pandemic. So when their box beef cutout prices are going down, you know, that's something that they're going to have to deal with. We've got to continue to fight and struggle to get all the market we can for our cattle and not let up just because they're profiting for a change. Your slaughter, 539,000 for a holiday week. Couldn't really compare it to the previous week, but the same holiday week a year ago, 49,000 less. So really light harvest, really light negotiated sales. Your packers are going to be short bought. They're going to be hungry, guys. Year to date, cattle slaughter is down 3.6% from a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Western Video Market, do not miss it, is having their biggest sale of the year, their 34th annual July sale. It's going to be 3 big days in Reno. If you haven't watched Western Video Market, they are first class, guys. They do everything first class, and they've got 145,000 head on offer here on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The pre-show starts at 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific, which is 9 o'clock in the morning Central. Then the auction starts 15 minutes later at 7:15 and 9:15 Central. Monday is going to be all yearlings. You don't want to miss that. Get on to wvmcattle.com, which will take you to the DV auction console, or just go on to dvauction.com and select Western Video Market and check out that sale. Those yearlings are going to bring more money than a mule could shit. I guarantee you. It'll be all-time record highs as soon as we see them. They've got a lot of Western Nebraska yearlings on there, guys. The best ones that walk. And some of the best ranches and the reputation deals. There's no telling what they might bring, guys, and it's going to be fun to watch. Going to be all day Monday at Western Video Market. Tuesday, they're going to sell lambs first thing in the morning. Been getting along good in recent years with those. Then they're going to sell calves and weaned calves in the plains and in the Rockies. Then they've got their breeding stock late in the afternoon. Not too late in the afternoon, but later after the calves on Tuesday. Don't forget that. And then they're going to clean up the balance of the calves and your far western delivery calves there on Wednesday. But big sale there. Let's go to your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states. 242.74 at the end of the week. That's more than $10 higher than the previous week through a holiday week, but it was on reduced receipts, and the few sales that they did have, many of them were specials, and so it inflated that. That's going to come down significantly here at the end of today's trading on Monday. But look at your big sales for last week. Fort Scott Livestock Market, Fort Scott, Kansas, about 3,200 head of feeders for their Saturday sale. Very impressive market, well-tested market here that I'm showing you. You can look at your favorite weights to look at, but including in this cattle market central automated market report, including in there is a couple of individual lots, 60 head of 691-pound steers that bring 260 and a quarter, and 53 head of 527-pound steers in Fort Scott, Kansas bring 301. Pretty impressive. How about your National Beef Wire stick-out sale of the day? It was Friday in Green City, Missouri, at the Green City Livestock Marketing sale barn there at 2,700 head for their calf special. If you remember, on Wednesday they had a yearling special and then a calf special. They usually do that right around the 4th of July. You look at these best tested weights and you see it's all calf weights there, but really impressive. 321 head of 4-weight steer calves, average 458 with a weighted average price of 305.45. 544 head of 5-weight steer calves, average 557 with a weighted average price of 296.71. And 240 head of 6-weight steer calves, average 649, weighted average price 272.85 at the calf special in Green City, Missouri. Look at some heifers, 290 head, 4-weight heifers, 459 pounds on that weighted average weight, $266.71 weighted average price. 464 head of 5-weight heifer calves, average $547, average price $256.69, and 212 head of 6-weight heifer calves, average $654 with a weighted average price of $236.06. Green City Livestock. You can view and bid them on DV Auction every week, guys. Give you some individual quotes. The first one, and also come out of Green City, Missouri, there at the special on Friday. It was 76 steer calves. They weighed 491 and bring 321.25. My goodness. How about Bluegrass Stockyards out of Richmond, Kentucky? Jim Doss's sale barn there. They do such a good job, and that sale barn is right in town. It just amazes me how many loads of yearlings they get in there and how well they can sell them. 100 head of 1,005-pound steers standing in the ring in Richmond, Kentucky, sell for $221.10. Put wheels under those guys. How about Fort Pierre Livestock Auction in Fort Pierre, South Dakota? 72 steers weighed 729 at $268. But the most impressive quote that I saw late last week or over the weekend, and your Makin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Lexington Livestock Market in Lexington, Nebraska. It was 233 steers, weighed 944 at $254.75. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.